Good to go. Fantastic. Hey, well, listen, firstly, thank you for coming out today. We've had a very successful trip today, just getting a very good sense of what's going on. I'm obviously here with Chris Bishop, our Minister for Transport and also for Housing, but also Chris Penk, our Minister for Emergency Management Recovery. And so we've had a quick trip up to Hicks Bay and also Te Tairāwhiti, and it's been a very good sense to get on the ground and actually understand the issues that we see. Clearly, we're very struck by the huge challenges that we have on some parts of the roading network. As I've said before, this is a very localised event that has had massive and deep impact in those localised communities, and it's going to take some time to work our way through some of those issues. But again, there's been very good coordination between local government, central government, our agencies. Iwi have been outstanding, and marae across the country, but particularly here as well. And we spent a lot of time with them actually just understanding what they need us to do in order to support them. So we've made some obviously initial release of funds. There's a lot more funds available in our existing budgets, and obviously there'll be more to do as we support the recovery. But with that, happy to take your questions.
Prime Minister, I guess you've been in the region there, you've spoken to those locals, but just how difficult is this recovery going to be in terms of that community is already quite far isolated, and now with roads being cut off?
Yeah, look, I think you're right. The real feature of this disaster has been that it has hit small, isolated, localised communities, but the impact has been massive and deep. And in some ways, what we've seen has been much bigger and deeper than what we've experienced through Gabrielle in those particular communities. So it hasn't been widespread and as broad, but it certainly has been very impactful and very deep. And as you well know, having seen State Highway 35, some of the other roading challenges we've got some really serious feats of engineering. When you have to move 500,000 cubic metres of soil, find somewhere to put that, that is relentless work, 5 to 6 months of work, just moving that sheer amount of soil. So we have to be able to work our way through all of that as quickly as possible, but do that sensibly and make sure we do it in a resilient way, but importantly also establish good connectivity for those communities, because the thing that that they really need to be is stay very connected. If you think about the medical needs, you think about the housing needs, food and supplies, those sorts of things we've got to continue to put in place.
On the topic of isolation, not too long ago we also had the Waiweta Gorge closed due to slips, and it's still closed with no reopening date in the foreseeable. Does this mean it's time to reprioritise resilience for our major routes in and out of the region?
Well, that's what we have been doing. So, as we've put a huge investment into our National Transport Fund, and again, as we build back those roads, if you think about the work we did in State Highway 25 on the Coromandel, if you think about the work that we're doing, say, on the Hawke's Bay Expressway, which is twice as resilient to floods than the road that was there previously, that is inherent in everything that we're doing and what NZTA is doing. Chris, did you want to pass a comment particularly on that project? Because we know how important it is to the region.
I think you've summarised it, PM, but working hard to get the gorge reopened, at least to one lane each way, or one lane, so that there can be vehicle movements, and aiming for that in the next week or so is the target. Significant challenge there. State Highway 35 is going to be it's going to be very tricky. A lot of dirt to move, yes, as the PM says. But we fully understand and acknowledge the importance of the gorge, particularly for freight, and acknowledge the advocacy of Rahit and the team on that. Well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, quite literally. Let's just get through, the response and then the recovery, and we also need to let things settle a bit so that the NZTA and the contractors and the team can actually get out there and assess the scale of the damage. And some of those things will only become apparent as you get into the work. So we will cross that bridge. But as the Prime Minister says, the National Land Transport Fund has a specific category of funding for emergency works for both state highways and for local roads. And there's also potentially further funding available if and when required. So this is not a money issue. This is actually, we've just got to get in there and look at what's required and then just work our way through that, and we will do that.
Yeah, it's a very complicated engineering challenge, as you would appreciate. But certainly NZTA are working incredibly hard over the next 2 weeks to at least get one lane open through that piece. We understand what that means for freight, but we'll work very hard, as Chris said.
You're speaking to locals today, they say Te Tairāwhiti infrastructure and the roading network has been neglected for decades. Multiple different governments have neglected the region, and they want some reassurance from you that this is the breaking point and things will get better. What can you tell them?
Well, I think I can't speak to previous governments. What I can do is, be responsible for the government that I'm in charge of now. And as I've said to you right from day one, what we have done is make sure we build resilience into the bloodstream of what we do, building out our roading program across the whole country, not just here. We know we've got some particular difficult and gnarly engineering challenges in particular. We are very conscious of the fact that, Gisborne is now having to route through essentially Napier in order to go north. We understand those challenges. But, as we deal with the immediate aftermath of a disaster like that, we clear away obviously the slips that enable people to move around, even if it's a bit of a goat track. But then we've got some serious challenges to deal with and some serious feats of engineering that we need to make those investments in and attack those really complicated projects very well.
How urgently will you be looking at more funds for this region after seeing it, and I guess seeing that recovery effort is going to be so difficult?
Well, look, as I said on Monday, we've got funds available to us. There's immediate funds that are released to give help immediately to communities and iwi up and down the country, particularly in the impacted areas. But we've also got budget set aside, whether it's actually already in the transportation space and a number of other areas as well. We've got the fact that we've moved very quickly. We've got a dedicated minister in Chris Pink, our Minister of Emergency Recovery now. He is there to coordinate all the other ministers, whether it's issues around MSD, whether it's issues around education, certainly transport and housing. He's doing a good job coordinating that already.
Last couple of guys, the region has recently put forward a sustainable land use transition business case to the government. I understand that it received a response in the negative around support for that and Crown funding. That was before this recent event. Has this changed the government outlook?
Well, look, what you've got is a commitment from central government and local government to work together. The ratepayers for Reheta, the taxpayers for us as in central government are the same people. And so it's counterproductive doing a Punch and Judy show. It's actually getting down, which we're going to do after this meeting, and say, okay, what are the 3 to 5 must-do things right here, right now that make the most amount of difference to the most amount of people as quickly as possible. That's the pragmatic approach that you've got with this government. So, we have funds set aside to deal with the challenges that we've got. We know there are real feats of engineering that we're going to have to deal with that are going to be very difficult to attack and challenge. We know we'll have to have some short-term solutions for that, but we'll work our way through that together as a joint team.
Just got a couple more other stories. Just on Winston Peters attending Joseph Parker flights. Is it appropriate for your foreign minister to be scheduling his foreign trips around attending Joseph Parker flights?
Well, I'm not sure that's what he has done. He just happens to be supportive of any New Zealander abroad when he's overseas, and if he's backing up a supporter, actually supporting someone, a Kiwi doing well on the world stage in the location he happens to be at doing his foreign affairs trips, so be it.
And another one for another story about the modern slavery bill. Why did National have to team up with Labor to get support for the modern slavery legislation?
Well, look, personally, it's something I've been very committed to, as you know, for some time. We had a commitment, from both Labor and National, and interest from both caucuses to work on this legislation. We thought this was the most sensible way to deal with it. Actually, the two caucuses coming together, finding common ground. Everyone didn't get what they wanted, but we found common ground, which is exactly the way we should work, and we're progressing it, which I think is important.
You're the Prime Minister, and you said this is something you'd march in the streets for. Why did you let ACT Party Brooke Van Velden derail the work that was being done?
Well, we already had members' bills in the ballot, and they got pulled. And as we said, we found a way to make it work with Labor, which we think's constructive and positive, and a good example of actually solving something that's not political. It's actually a good Kiwi, decent thing to do for humanity. It's something that New Zealand should have had a long time ago. Labor couldn't do it when they were on their own, and as a result, we came together. And I think it's a very pragmatic, very creative solution and it's going to be something that's going to create a lot of good.
And one last one. You took in a lot of essential supplies today, obviously helpful for everyone, but also a little treat for the community with some KFC. Just how good will that help?
Well, it's a very much just recognising it's a morale booster is what I hope it is, and because we've got incredible recovery workers up there, we've got amazing folk that have been going at it now for 12 days solid without breaks. We brought in medical supplies, we brought in a bunch of other supplies as well, but it was just a little treat for everybody to say thank you so much for what you're doing. We appreciate you, we haven't forgotten you, we care about you, we love you heaps.
One question, if I may. Last. So, why is the Prime Minister openly disagreeing with his Foreign Minister on the Indian Free Trade Agreement?
Oh, well, we have different points of view. I mean, I have a view that, Winston Peters and New Zealand First are wrong in their position. They didn't support the China Free Trade Agreement back in 2008, and that's proved to be of huge value to the New Zealand economy. The same thing's the same here with the Indian FTA. When we fast forward 5, 10, 15 years from now, we're going to be very, very grateful that we are growing with a rapidly growing economy, probably the third largest economy in the world, the biggest population in the world. I'm very proud of what we've negotiated, and so we have a difference of opinion on that, but we're going to get that job done.
Cool.
Okay,
Right.
thanks, team.